Hi, I'm Kami Arcana, and in this first video, I'm going to introduce myself by showing you the 5 first and last decks in my collection. So welcome to this channel, and this is my first video. This will be an introduction to myself. I've been around YouTube for quite some time now, I think since 2020. Something like that. But I've never interact much with anyone. I've left a few comments here and there, and that was pretty much it. I think the main reason is because English is not my first language. It is never easy to express yourself in a foreign language. But the thing is, I love tarot. And I love Tarotube. It's been my companion for a long time. And I wanted to engage more. I wanted to be part of this conversation. I wanted to bring something to the table. I felt like now it was okay to do it. So I gathered all my strength and courage and every knowledge of English I have. And here I am, starting this YouTube channel, and I decided to introduce myself. So as I was thinking how I was gonna do this introduction, I crossed upon a video from JD from Frost and Forest, and she made a hashtag that I think it was first made by Moonflower Moments, which is called hashtag first 5 last 5. And I think that was the perfect idea to introduce myself, because my original thought was to show my first decks, the first decks that started my tarot journey. And when I saw this hashtag, I was like, you know what? This is perfect. I'm gonna do this. So let's go. Let's do the hashtag. Let's start from the beginning. As I said, English is not my first language because Portuguese is. I am Brazilian, and my relationship with tarot really started in 2020. But it was not the first time I saw tarot. It was not my first contact with tarot at all. I come from a very Christian background, I think, as many of us. So tarot was kind of not allowed. And as I moved away from Christian faith in my early teenage years, I completely left this spiritual side, and I think completely ignore it. And I think it was something I needed to do. I needed to move away from this. So I became a very skeptical person for a long time. And I think it was in 2019, it was when I moved from Brazil. I moved away from my background, and I think I started to look into my spiritual side again, and I started to acknowledge, and I started to get back into what interests me in the moment that I left my family religion. And then tarot and witchcraft was there. and then in 2019, I started looking for a tarot to learn from, and I crossed with this one, with the Rider-Waite-Smith. It was not the tarot I have from my childhood memory. It was not this one. When I was a kid, I have some aunts, they were very into new agey things, and they used Marseille. They didn't use the Rider-Waite-Smith. But this was the first one when I looked for learn tarot, and I bought it, and it started my journey, and I'm so grateful for this deck. This one, nowadays, I don't use to read for myself. I only use to study. I have another Rider-Waite-Smith that I use to do readings for myself. But this one in the yellow box is my study deck. This yellow box makes me so happy. It brings me a lot of memory, and it brings me so much joy. I get happy every time I take it out because I know I will study and I can see how far I've come. So this is the first one, the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot. And the second one, it was actually not this one. I'm cheating because I don't have the second one anymore. It was a golden Marseille and I gave it to a friend because I was very insecure back then about Marseille. Let me explain you why as we flip through this baby, which is the CBD Marseille by Yov Bendov. So the thing is, when I bought the Rider-Waite and I stayed with it, only with it for a long time, and then in the back of my mind, I had this memory of two different decks. This one, the Marseille from my childhood. This is my childhood deck. This is the first memory I have of a tarot deck, and the mythological deck, because this was the one that I had a friend when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. She used to read tarot to us. We had a group of girlfriends and she used to read tarot for us whenever we hang out. And it was the mythological tarot. I was looking for those two and I found like a golden Marseille. It didn't have any color. It was only like the illustrations were golden. As I remember, I think it was like a black background. And as I started to study, I realized colors were a thing in Marseille. And I was like, you know what? I think I want a colored Marseille. And then I found the books by Yov Bendov. And I thought they were a very good source for me to study. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy his deck. And I did. And I don't regret at all because this is a great deck. Also, as my yellow tuck box Rider-Waite-Smith is a deck I use mainly for study. I almost never read with it. So this is the CBD Tarot de Marseille by Yov Bendov. And then I got to my third one. And I think that was the logical next step. And that is the Thoth. I made this bag for it. This is a Peggy bag. Peggy has a very good tutorial for Peggy bags. Even me, that never used a sewing machine before, I managed to do that okay. It's not perfect, but it is okay. I don't do bags like that anymore because I don't like sewing that much. I'm a knitter, so I knit my bags nowadays. But my first bags, they got bags like this, and the Thoth got one. So after Rider-Waite and Marseille, I discovered the Thoth. And I discovered Thoth because I told a friend I was starting to study tarot, and she's like, oh, my favorite tarot is the Thoth. And I was like, what? What is that? And then she showed me, and for some weird reason, I knew this. I'm like, I have seen this before. So yeah, maybe I've crossed upon it when I was younger and I didn't remember. I love this deck. It kind of changed my relationship with tarot. It made me see the cards in a different perspective, in a more intuitive way, in a more symbolic. I don't know if I can explain, but it made me see tarot in a more layered way, you know? So I love this deck and I love studying this deck. So my first three decks, they are mainly for study, but this one I used to read it too. I read with it. And I've edged it, not because I want it, but because I spilled water in it and it kind of ruined the borders. So I took them off and I liked it. I actually liked it. This is a deck I use very often, and it's the Thoth, my third deck. And then we go to my fourth deck. As you start to study tarot, you realize that it has been around for ages. And then you start to see those historical decks and it just catches your eye and you're like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful thing ever. So I crossed upon this Asian Italian tarot. Oh, it's here, sorry. This is the Asian Italian Tarot. This is a Los Carabeo edition. I saw this deck and I was like, oh my God, I need this. And then I went into a very historic decks kind of phase. But this is the one that, I don't know, it was the first one and I think it's my favorite. I have the Solabusca, I have the Visconti Sforza, I have some other historical decks, but this is the first and it's my favorite. I love a good Marseille and I love the aesthetics of this one. And also the bags. Look at those bags. I think those are my favorite bags ever. So this is the Asian Italian Tarot. And then this was my first deck. And this is when I discovered Tarotube. And everything changed ever since. I just want to give a big shout out to every tarot tuber out there. You guys are amazing and you make a very beautiful and inspiring job. I just want you guys to know. If I'm here today doing this, speaking in a language that is not my own, is because you guys are really inspiring. Thank you. So I discovered Tarotube and I discovered the universe of amazing decks that we have out there. Oh my God, it just blew my mind. And this was the first one. This is the Wildwood Tarot. I made a bag for it. Also a Peggy bag. This one is kind of a little better than the other one, but my skills with the sewing machine, they are not the greatest one. So the Wildwood Tarot, when I first saw this deck, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. I was a teenager very much into Mists of Avalon and witchcraft, and I'm still kind of am. But when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I want to get to know this universe. And also, this is so different from where I am from. I'm from Brazil, as I said. So this is completely different landscape than my own. And I think it drove me, but at the same time, it is what keeps being a challenge to make me connect with this deck. Because it's the exact same reason that drove me into it is what makes so hard for me to connect. As a Brazilian, as a tropical person, there are animals and sites that I've never seen before. I've never been before. So it kind of makes it hard for me to reach and to relate. I don't mean that only decks that have my landscape are the ones I will connect. That is not what I'm saying. But it is what ended up happening with this one. I love this deck and I feel that our time has not come yet. I think there will be a day or a time in my life where I will connect with this one, but it hasn't happened so far. It opened a door to a universe of decks that I really use, that I really love, and I don't believe I'll never use this deck. I think it always goes in the back of the line whenever I go pick up decks for the month, or whenever I crave for a specific aesthetic, it always goes in the back of the line. But oh my God, I love this deck. It's so beautiful. Yeah, our time will come. The Wildwood Tarot. Okay, so I know I showed you my first 5 decks, but they were all tarot, right? And I wanted to show my first oracle deck. And apparently your channel, your rules, right? I will show my first oracle deck and I will show my last oracle deck that came into my collection later. Okay, so let's do it. This was my first oracle deck and just looking at it brings me so much joy. and so much good memories. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, how genius that is. This is the perfect match. Oracle and female authors. This is perfection. I don't like this bending, but anyway, I love the artwork. I love the authors they chose. I love the guidebook. There's not only this little guidebook, but there's another book you can buy. You can buy separate. Virginia Woolf is like one of my favorite authors. I love this deck. I have made so many readings with it, and it has picked books for me to read, authors for me to know. I just finished today a book by Octavia E. Butler, and to see this card here makes me want to cry, because I'm kind of sad that the book finished. This is an amazing oracle, and it tells a lot about myself, this being the first one. I love a good female author. I think we can write stories like anyone else. Mary Shelley. She is one of my favorite authors, and Frankenstein, it's kind of in my top 5 books. I read it every year around Halloween. I love it. This part of the oracle, sometimes I don't get it. Yeah, it's hard for me to get what they're trying to tell me sometimes. It's not that obvious. This part of the oracle makes everything so worth it. And the mixing of the two makes it everything even better. So this was my first oracle deck, the Literary Witches Oracle. All right, so let's jump into the 5 last decks that joined my collection. The first one, this is known from most of you as Tarot of the Guardian Angel. Here's the Spanish version of it. I found this on Amazon. I was not really looking for it because I thought it was out of print. I don't know if the English version is out of print, but last time I went to Brazil, I was searching in Amazon Brazil, and it just came to me as a suggestion, and I was like, hell yes! In Spanish, make things even better. My first language is Portuguese, but Spanish is a very close language to me. My partner comes from a Spanish country, and I live in a Spanish country nowadays. So having a deck written in Spanish makes me feel so much joy. And it is perfect that it is this deck. This is my bedside deck. This is like a deck for me to wrap up the day, you know, because after a long day, I just need a good message, a positive message. Even if it's the Tower card, it is written in a very cuddly way. So I love it. It's a very cute and loving deck. I love the messages. I love the illustrations. I love this aesthetics, this vintagey aesthetic. Yeah, it's a deck I read almost every day before I go to bed, and I need like a good night message. Here's the Guardian Angel Tarot. Here is El Tarot de los Ángeles de la Guarda. This is Adoring Virtue and Bradley Valentine. Yeah, I love it. And then I was in Brazil. I was not looking for it. And then I found this secondhand, super cheap. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes we need this vibe, right? I know I do. So this is the Fairy Tarot card. I love the messages. I love the images. It makes me so happy. I usually use this to end a reading. You know, this has a very like cheering vibe. Sometimes we need it, right? Sometimes we just need like a pat on the shoulder saying, you know, everything will be all right. Just keep going. I've been using it a lot lately, especially as I said in conclusion of readings. Yeah, this is the Fairy Tarot, another Doreen Virtue. Yeah, fairly new addition to my collection. And then came this one, the Black Lily Tarot. I think this one is more my natural vibe. I think the like Garden Angel, Doreen Virtue, they are more like a vibe I need. This is more a vibe I naturally have. And like this dark and moody vibe. This deck is the one I'm getting to know, and I see this is kind of the my natural vibe, my natural mood. So I get the readings, you know, I understand it without even thinking too hard. It's just a, you know, a fast shooter, and I understand very quickly what it is trying to tell me. It has been on my wish list forever, for years and years. And I always kept, you know, delaying to purchase it. And then this year, I finally did. And I don't regret it. I love it. The Black Lily Tarot. Next, the Lubanko Tarot. When I first saw this, I thought, I don't think I want this. It's okay. It's not my thing. And then I started to see the cards and I was like, hell yeah, this is my thing. This is my vibe. I'm so in love with this deck. I like everything about it. And it just arrived. I just did like very quick readings with it. I haven't used much. I will be using it as soon as I finish the bag I'm making for it. Because this is too big. I don't like keeping decks in those boxes. So yeah, I am starting to knit a bag for it. This is like a very dark blue. It's going to be finished really soon. I think as I finish the bag, it will go right to my decks I'm using pile. I don't know how to say that. The Lubanko Tarot. Next, the Sacred Rose Tarot. This is a US game deck. This is a deck that has been around since I discovered Tarotube, and I've delayed to buy it, and I just bought it, and I'm so glad I did, because this weird like kind of 70s vibe is everything to me. I love this deck. It shuffles so nicely. I like this like alien fairy thing. I don't know how to explain this. I really do enjoy this deck. I really do enjoy the aesthetics of it and the vibe. I don't know why I took so long to get this deck. This is totally a deck I'll be using a lot. I don't know. Sometimes it's just like, no, I don't need this amazing deck that is totally my jam. Thankfully, I got this deck. I can't wait to use it. I think it will be like a March deck. I usually rotate my decks monthly, and I think this will go in the March lineup. The Sacred Rose Tarot. Love it. And for the last Oracle I purchased, because I told you I was going to show my first and my last Oracle deck too. This is the Power deck. So the Power deck is like the exception to some of my rules. I don't usually like landscape decks, and it has some landscape images. And I don't like decks that has the message in the back, and it also does. But what happens is that it reads really nice, and I read it in a kind of different way. I don't shuffle and, I don't know, pick up a random card. I usually flip through the cards and I choose the images that I feel drawn to until I pick the one that has called me the most. And then when I pick this one image, I read the message in the back. I don't know, that was a very powerful way to read it. I think I have this deck and another deck that has this kind of system, and I usually do it like that. I don't shuffle and randomly pick the card. I kind of consciously pick the image, and I think somewhere in the back of my mind I'm calling for this message. I don't know. I don't know. But it does give me good readings. And I used this deck last month and it was a really powerful deck, as the name says. All right, guys, so that was it. That was my 5 first and 5 last tarot decks and the oracle ones also. I hope you liked it. I'm very happy to be here. Sorry for any mistakes. Again, English is not my first language. I'll try to improve in the next videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!